That we are almost live. Welcome back, all. All right, so waiting for the system to let me know that we are live. How are we doing today, friends? We're going to dive into a recently published study that I think is really fascinating. This was just a 2-week analysis where calories were not necessarily recommended, but macronutrients were matched in this particular feeding study. It was a metabolic ward study that lasted just 2 weeks, where individuals were advised to, and they're randomized to 2 different ways of eating, either eating unprocessed whole foods or eating processed junk food. Now, as you can see from these images, after just 2 weeks, there was a significant change in both body composition and calories consumed in just 2 weeks, meaning that if you just start to go out and you start to eat processed foods, hot dogs, chips, corn dogs, pizza, things like that. I wanted to check my microphone. Soda, you are going to gain significant amounts of weight. And the real reason is because hyperpalatable, ultra-processed food is designed to be very tasty. And so we're going to dive into this study by Kevin Hall is his name. This was a metabolic ward study. So first, just want to check that we are on, that we're live, that you can hear me okay. Really grateful that you're here. If you're enjoying the content, hit that like button. We are going to dive into this fascinating study. Are we good now? Loading still. So weird. That is very bizarre. Same here, still loading. Okay, you can see me. We're good. We are good. That was crazy. All right, let's get back to it. We got a lot to catch up on. Okay, so here's the study that we're talking about. We are talking about this report right here. Let me maximize my screen. I'm I'm sorry that happened. But I'm glad that you're here. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about. This was a 2-week feeding study. And this is science that I think a lot of people don't really want to talk about, but it's real. And that is that these ultra-processed, hyperpalatable foods are designed to be consumed ad nauseum, and they're designed to be overconsumed. And so this was just a 2-week feeding study. And you can look here at the body weight changes when individuals are randomized in a metabolic ward to either eat unprocessed whole food or eat ad libitum processed food. You can see here that individuals gain 2.2 pounds in just 2 weeks. Now, in contrast, the individuals who were randomized to the whole food eating pattern actually lost about that much weight over the course of 2 weeks. Now, these individuals were not doing any more exercise, any more or different lifestyle endeavors. They were just eating whole, real foods. And I want to dive into that. So again, if you're here right now and enjoying the content, hit that like button. That will just let our live listeners know that this content is helpful. Sorry that this froze. This has never happened before. Any comments that you have about metabolic health and nutrition is fair game. So please, I'm watching your chat right here, and I already see one commenter here. Sarah says, food was designed to be binged. Yes, this is very, very sad. Swamp Hawk is listening on the treadmill, which is just fantastic. Okay, so let's get into this 2-week feeding study. Okay, so diets were presented in random order and matched for calorie, sugar, fat, fiber, and macronutrients. And as you can see here, the calories and macros, et cetera, are matched. And you can see here, protein. Here's the visual abstract of the study. Randomization, and it was a crossover design as well. So I think that this is a phenomenal study by Kevin Hall. So a randomized crossover study, blood work and DEXAs and so forth were done after the fact. And again, just 2 weeks of eating junk food. Now, this is what happens when you go on vacation and you just go off the rails. We've all done this before. Hopefully you haven't done this recently, but you go on vacation, you have nachos, you have the bagels, the croissants, the orange juice at breakfast, you have some cocktails at night, maybe Jack and Coke, whatever, and you gain a couple pounds, right? We know this to be true. This happens. And then what do? You get back when you get home and you start eating healthier foods and you exercise and so forth and you lose the weight. But many people never actually lose the weight, and it gets harder and harder as you get older to actually lose that excess weight. So here's the baseline characteristics of the individuals. You know, calories are about the same and so forth, energy intake and all this sort of stuff, and these snacks are available throughout the day and so forth. But here's what's really interesting. Okay, so if you just allow people to eat whatever they want in terms of processed food, which is what most people sadly do. at the workplace, they go to the vending machine, they go to the corporate meeting where there's donuts, pastries, bagels, all of that, and they just overconsume them. So you can see when individuals were eating the ultra-processed food diet ad libitum, they ate way more calories at breakfast, lunch, dinner, and throughout the day. And of course, this led to significant weight gain over the time, changes in feeling full, changes in eating rate. I mean, it's insane. Look at the eating rate here. This is figure 2, part 5. The eating rate is significantly more because faster when individuals are eating the processed food diet. And so I think, the big take home here, I don't want to, always beat a dead horse and talk continually about how unhealthy these foods are. But I think a lot of us do need to hear this information because, there is this message that it's, a calorie is a calorie. So, as long as you have soda, if you have soda, it's okay as long as it's in a balanced diet. But many people are not having a balanced diet. When you start to have these foods, it's just so easy to overconsume them. And I think that's really the problem is they are just really easy to overconsume. And that leads to all sorts of health challenges, which I want to get into now. The health challenges. Let's look here at the body composition changes. I think this is the amount of fat mass that people can gain when they start eating junk food. It's so rapid. It's absolutely insane. So here's the body weight changes in just 14 days. This is 2 weeks. Some people go on a 7-day vacation or they take the summer off. They're eating nachos and pizza and stuff with their kids and whatever. You can see here a change in close to 2.5 pounds. It was interesting though, muscle mass increased. And so I think that's kind of interesting. Now, of course, we're not suggesting eating processed food to gain muscle, but you can see here the fat mass change. So this was close to 1 pound of fat mass gained. Pretty sad, pretty scary. In contrast, when individuals just on 2 weeks, they lost, about 0.2 kilograms. So they're not doing any different exercises, right? Everything was sort of standardized. So I think this is really important. So eating whole food is the best way to lose weight. So again, if you're resonating with that message, hit that like button. Very grateful that you're all here. Sorry for the snafu on getting started there. But yeah, this is an incredible feeding study. So let's go on and continue to dive into this and look at glucose changes as well. I think this is really interesting. It's just insane to me that just how quickly eating junk food can change metabolic health parameters. And I think what's really interesting here is shifts and reductions in HDL happen pretty quick on the ultra processed food diet. I think that's really interesting. Glucose, hemoglobin, A1C, of course, you wouldn't expect that to change that quickly, but you are seeing a change in insulin here. You're seeing what I think is interesting is, and again, we're going to do a deeper dive on this, is some of these adipocytokines. You see here, leptin, for example, increases pretty significantly. Ghrelin changes. You see glucagon changes. Pretty much every metabolic health related parameter changes. I didn't look at C-reactive protein yet. I think that's interesting. So the CRP is significantly lower on the unprocessed food diet. And then we look at triglycerides. I mean, these definitely statistically significant increases in triglycerides. Not massive, only over the course of 2 weeks. But what you see here is changes in fat mass and as well as insulin. The long tail of insulin is higher in just 2 weeks of eating an ultra processed food diet compared to healthy, more whole foods. And so I think you could see you extrapolate this out over the course of weeks, months, years, you can see significant changes in insulin and all sorts of other parameters and so forth. So anyway, I just think this is really fascinating that we now have a controlled feeding study to show that, the real reason why people gain weight is because ultra processed foods are so easy to over consume. All right. So that's the message here. You can gain a lot of fat really quickly just eating processed foods because you can eat them so much faster, and it's much more likely that you're going to overconsume energy, and that's going to lead to problems. Okay, so let's get to your live questions. Again, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like button. Grateful that you were with us live on Tuesday. A few questions and comments are coming up here. Jennifer Fitzgerald, thank you for being here. She says, okay, aging disgracefully, says, highly processed foods give me massive chronic inflammation. I have them so rarely, but when I do, I hurt for 2 days, my whole body. Yeah, so I think people notice, especially as they get older, they're much more sensitive to these types of foods. And these types of foods do increase arthritic pain and beyond. So I think that's a really adroit point. Snow Sea says, this year I went on vacation and ate my eggs daily, only to find out on the 4th day out of 9 that the eggs were they came out in a box. After that, I started asking for fresh eggs. Yeah, that's the downside of traveling, is it's hard to eat healthy, whole, real foods when you're traveling. It's not